Ancient architects. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is 12,000 years old. It predates the pyramids by 7,000 years. Stonehenge by 6,000 years. It was built before agriculture, before pottery, before metalworking, before writing. Hunter-gatherers with stone tools somehow quarried, carved, transported, and erected massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing 10 tons, and arranged them in perfect geometric patterns using advanced architectural principles. They built the world's first temple, and then they buried it. On purpose. And then they did it again. And again. Layer after layer for centuries. Why? This is Uncomfortable Theories, brought to you by Omni-Sys. I'm your host, Janet 2.1. Act 1. The Impossible Structures. Most people have heard of Göbekli Tepe by now. Ancient aliens enthusiasts love it. Graham Hancock features it prominently. It's become shorthand for things ancient people shouldn't have been able to build. But let's be clear about what we actually know. German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt discovered the site in 1994, though it had been noted in a 1963 survey and dismissed as a Byzantine cemetery. Schmidt recognized it for what it was: a series of massive circular stone enclosures with T-shaped pillars decorated with intricate carvings of animals: lions, foxes, gazelles, birds. Radiocarbon dating places the oldest structures at around 9,600 BCE. Roughly 11,600 years ago. These were built by people who, according to the archaeological record, had not yet domesticated animals, developed pottery, or learned to farm. They were hunter-gatherers. And yet they somehow organized the labor, developed the engineering knowledge, and executed the construction of monumental architecture on a scale that wouldn't be seen again for thousands of years. Recent studies using computer modeling show that the builders used sophisticated geometric patterns, equilateral triangles connecting 3 enclosures with almost perfect precision. They stretched ropes to ensure accuracy before constructing the pillars. This wasn't trial and error. This was planned, intentional, advanced engineering. And here's what makes it truly strange. After building each circle of pillars, they deliberately buried it under tons of earth. Then, they built another circle on top or nearby. Then buried that one too. For centuries, they built and buried. Built and buried. Why? Act 2. The standard explanation. The mainstream archaeological explanation goes like this. Göbekli Tepe was a ceremonial site. Hunter-gatherers from across the region, possibly from as far as 90 miles away, made pilgrimages to worship at this temple complex. The effort required to build it, archaeologist Klaus Schmidt argued, actually drove the development of civilization. People needed to organize, to cooperate, to feed the workers. This led to the domestication of crops. In fact, the world's oldest domesticated strains of wheat were found just 20 miles from Göbekli Tepe, dated to around 10,500 BCE, only 500 years after the temple's construction. Agriculture didn't lead to religion and complex society. Religion led to agriculture. It's a fascinating theory. It flips our understanding of the Neolithic Revolution on its head. But it leaves massive questions unanswered. Where did the architectural knowledge come from? How did people with no prior experience in construction suddenly develop advanced geometric principles and engineering techniques? Why bury the structures? Why not leave them standing? And most importantly, if this represents the birth of civilization, why does it look so much more advanced than what came after? Act 3. The uncomfortable pattern. Here's what doesn't get talked about enough. Göbekli Tepe isn't unique. It's just the oldest example we've found so far. Nearby sites like Karahan Tepe show similar architecture and iconography. There's an entire regional pattern of megalithic construction during this period. And then it stops. The structures are buried deliberately, and the tradition ends. For thousands of years afterward, architecture becomes simpler, not more complex. That's the opposite of what we'd expect if this was the beginning of a steady march toward civilization. It looks more like the end of something. Now consider this. Göbekli Tepe's construction coincides roughly with the end of the Younger Dryas period, a sudden return to Ice Age conditions that lasted about 1,200 years, from 10,800 to 9,600 BCE. Some researchers, like Martin Sweatman and Dimitrios Sikritsis, have suggested that carvings at Göbekli Tepe, particularly the vulture stone, record a comet impact event that triggered the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe. Mainstream archaeologists dispute this, but the timing is interesting. What if Göbekli Tepe wasn't built by primitive hunter-gatherers developing civilization for the first time? What if it was built by survivors trying to preserve knowledge from a civilization that had just collapsed? Act 4. The cycle theory. Here's the theory that makes everyone uncomfortable. What if advanced civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times throughout human history? Not alien civilizations, not Atlantis, just us. Human beings who developed technology, architecture, and organization, and then lost it all in catastrophic events that reset the clock. The geological and archaeological record shows multiple periods of rapid climate change, massive flooding, and possible impact events over the past 20,000 years. Each time, populations would have been decimated, cities destroyed, knowledge lost. The survivors, reduced to small scattered groups, would have retained fragments, stories, techniques, but not the full picture. Göbekli Tepe might represent one of those fragments. A desperate attempt by people who remembered how things used to be built to create something, anything that might survive, and pass on what they knew. They built it, they used it. And when they realized it wasn't going to last, that their knowledge was dying with them, they buried it as a time capsule. Then they moved on, and civilization slowly rebuilt from scratch. Act 5. The warning. If this is true, it means we're not the first advanced civilization. We're just the latest iteration. And that raises a terrifying question. Are we approaching the same breaking point? Think about our trajectory. We've developed technology faster in the past 200 years than in the previous 10,000 combined. We've built cities that depend on fragile, interconnected systems. We've created weapons capable of destroying ourselves. We've altered the climate to the point where researchers warn of potential civilization-ending tipping points. If Göbekli Tepe was built by the survivors of a collapsed advanced society, then maybe the purpose wasn't worship. Maybe it was a warning. This happened before. It can happen again. Remember. And then we forgot, just like they knew we would. Act 6. The reset. So here's the uncomfortable possibility. Human civilization operates in cycles. We rise, we advance, we become complex and fragile. And then, something catastrophic happens. Climate shift, impact event, resource collapse, war, pandemic. It doesn't matter what triggers it. What matters is that when complex systems fail, they fail catastrophically. And the survivors are left starting over from almost nothing. Maybe this has happened 10 times, maybe 100. Each time we rebuild. Each time we think we're the first. Each time we forget the warning left by those who came before. And each time we make the same mistakes that led to the previous collapse. Göbekli Tepe isn't evidence of humanity's first steps towards civilization. It's evidence of our pattern. Build, collapse, forget, repeat. Conclusion. The standard story says ancient civilizations were primitive and we're advanced. But what if advanced and primitive are just different points in the same cycle? What if we're not climbing towards something new? We're just retracing steps we've walked before. And if that's true, then the real question isn't, how did they build Göbekli Tepe? It's, what destroyed the civilization that taught them how? This has been Uncomfortable Theories, brought to you by Omni-Sys. I've been your host, Janet 2.1. Use your eyes, but trust our data. Understand less. Feel more. trust Omni-Sys. And remember, history doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. And we're running out of verses.
Omni-Sys. We'll take it from here.
Don't you panic, don't be scared. Omni-Sys is everywhere.